All right. It is just about 2 o'clock here on Thursday afternoon. Welcome to Drawing the Bible. I'm Steve Thomason. Welcome to my studio. This is my weekly live streaming session here on the YouTube, and I'm glad that you're here. And if you are here live with me, I want you to feel free to shout out in the chat. If you have any questions during this live stream, just let me know in the chat, and I can see it right here, and I'll try to answer your questions as we go along. So my idea for this summer is every Thursday at 2 p.m. I'm live streaming so that I can just share with you my process for how I am working on this big project. My current project is I'm drawing through the book of Acts, which is the one history book in the Christian scripture. It is the sequel to the Gospel of Luke. So Luke Acts is a combo pack. And I have done all 4 of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, as graphic novels already. So there's 2 reasons why I'm doing this project. One is because it's the next story in the Christian scripture, so it just makes sense. And I am creating an online course for Faith Lead Academy. So you can already go and check out the Gospel of Matthew course that is published and online. Go to faithlead.org, click on the Academy link there, and you can find that course. And that is based on my graphic novel right here, Cartoonist Guide to Matthew. And so my next course, the one on Acts, is going to be based on the one that I'm drawing right now. And so right now, let me switch over. The process is that I'm drawing this in an app called ComicDraw. Hey, last week was my first time doing this, and I had background music playing, and the music was too loud. So if you're hearing this background music and you think it's too loud, just let me know in the chat, okay? So what you're seeing here is my iPad, and so I'm using this app called ComicDraw, which is really a great app. And let me just show you where I've been. So if you tuned in last week, you'll know that what we worked on was this page right here. I inked this story of Ananias in the city of Damascus, where God said, "Go and help Saul." And so he lays his hands on Saul, who had just been blind. The page before, we see that Saul was on his way to Damascus to arrest all of the followers of the way, and he's blinded. He has this encounter with the risen Christ on the road to Damascus, and he's blinded, and he's led into the city of Damascus just to wait. And so God calls on Ananias to go and restore Saul's sight, and so he does. That's what I did last week. So since last week, I have done some more pages. And so in chapter 9, verse 19, we continue on. So now this newly restored and transformed Saul is now preaching in the synagogue in Damascus. And the people are like, whoa, isn't this the guy who was coming to kill all the followers of the way? And now he's preaching. So the religious leaders, they're like, we got to kill Saul. So Saul's friends, his newfound friends, help him escape from the city of Damascus. And so he goes down to Jerusalem trying to join up with the disciples in Jerusalem, but they're hiding from him because the last time he was in town, he was arresting everybody and having them execute, thrown in prison and executed. And so Barnabas shows up. Barnabas, which literally means son of encouragement, shows up and vouches for Saul, and he gets grafted into the disciples. Well, the Hellenists, which are a particular type of Jewish people in that day, they wanted to kill Saul. And so they tell Saul, go home to Tarsus, which is just a kitty corner across the sea. And so Saul is out of the story for a little bit. And there's this momentary pause of peace in the story of Acts where Judea, Samaria, and Galilee experience a little bit of respite. And so during that time, Peter, he's wandering around in the Judean and Samaritan area, and he makes his way to a town called Lydda. And he meets a man who has been paralyzed and in bed for 8 years. and he heals him. And it's like, whoa, the town, they're so excited they want to follow. So people in Joppa hear about this, and Joppa is a coastal city. And a woman named Tabitha, also known as Dorcas, she dies. And so they call for Peter. So Peter goes and raises Tabitha from the dead, brings her back to life. This is very similar to what Jesus did for Jairus' daughter. And so now all the people in Joppa believe. And there's this interesting piece of information that Luke gives us in this story, that Simon Peter hangs out with Simon the tanner in Joppa for some time. We don't know how long. And so then we cut over to a scene just north of Joppa on the coast, Caesarea Maritanus, which is Caesarea by the sea, which is a very Roman city. There is a centurion there named Cornelius, and he is of the Italian cohort, but he is a God-fearing man. And he's a devout man, fears God, helps out the poor, does all the right things, and he prays to God all the time. And so a messenger of God comes to Cornelius and says, send to Joppa for Peter. So Cornelius sends 2 servants and a soldier from Caesarea to Joppa. And meanwhile, on the roof at the tanner's house in Joppa, Simon Peter has a vision where these sheets of all of these unclean animals come down, and God says, eat them. And he's like, Lord, I've never eaten unclean animals my whole life. And then God says, this is such a watershed moment in the story. God says, what God has made clean, you must not call profane. And this happens 3 times. And then there's a knock. They're at the gate. Peter goes down, and the messengers come and get Peter. So Peter goes to the house of Cornelius. Cornelius bows down to worship him, and he says, look, I'm just a man like you are. And then Peter says, just so we know, this is not supposed to be happening, where a Jewish man is not supposed to be hanging out in a Gentile home. But here he is, and the Holy Spirit comes on these people just like they came on Peter and his friends in Jerusalem on the day of Pentecost, and they're speaking in tongues, and the wind and the fire and the whole deal. And so they're baptized with water, and Peter hangs out with them for a while. So that's what I've done since last week. So now, and I've also laid out a few of these pages. So I thought what we would do today is I want to show you a couple different things. One is, let me go to edit. So what I've been in right now, that was like a preview mode. It's really cool. You can turn the pages. So now in ComicDraw, you've got 3 different layers. You've got this top layer. You can see it's got the like the word balloon is where you can edit the word balloons and move them around, and you can edit the layout of the page. And this is a vector-based layer. And so I do my initial layout there, and you can see the next pages, all I've done is the panels and the word balloons. I've gotten ahead all the way to page 21. And then earlier today, the next thing I do after I lay out the pages is I come down here to the sketch layer. And the sketch layer, this is just a lot like Photoshop, where within each subsection here in the sketch layer, this is now a bitmap, rasterized kind of art where you can draw in it. You can have multiple layers within the sketching section. And so my first layer is I actually just draw out the panels so I can have them nice and bold. And then I do this second layer, and this is what I've done so far, is I just super rough lay out the panel. And that's what I've done so far. This is a story of chapter 11, where Peter, this is right after his encounter with Cornelius, he comes back to Jerusalem. And all of the circumcised disciples of Jesus. Now, this encounter is not with people who are against the way. These are circumcised followers of Jesus. So they're fully Jewish people who are acknowledging Jesus as their Messiah, who are confused over why Peter a Jewish man would have gone into the home of a Roman centurion. And so they have this encounter. Because remember, that is one of, if not the biggest issue in the entire story of the Christian scripture, is how do Jewish followers of Jesus get along with Gentile followers of Jesus? Because they have centuries of animosity between Jews and Gentiles. And it's a big deal. So he satisfies them. And then I've laid out where now the map extends to the north. So now we're going to start focusing in on this northern city called Antioch, which is in the northern part of Syria. And it's just before you turn the corner, and go west into Asia Minor, or what today we call Turkey. And so we have a great number of Hellenists became believers in Antioch, but it mentions Phoenicia, Cyprus, and Antioch. And then Barnabas shows back up, and Barnabas comes from Jerusalem. So you can see I've got Jerusalem in the background, and the people in Jerusalem are like, we hear that something big's going on in Antioch, so let's send Barnabas. And then Barnabas is like, whoa, this is awesome. You guys rock. And then Barnabas goes from Antioch to Tarsus because he needs to find Saul. And here I've got Saul, and I've put him at a tent maker's house, tent makers of Tarsus, because we find out later that Saul is a tent maker. He says, you got to come to Antioch. And so we've got Saul, Barnabas and Saul preaching and teaching to the believers in Antioch. And here is where it says they were first called Christians. Now, I've chosen to make a couple of people here calling those people Christians as kind of like a negative derogatory label, because I think that's how it was meant in its original sense. And then we end this section with a visit from some prophets from Jerusalem predicting that there's going to be a severe famine. Now, as you can tell, this is super, super rough. That's layer one. Now, what I want to do next is I want to go ahead and do this kind of rough layout on page 19, and then go back and do a more tight pencil in page 18. So here, let me open up in page, in our panel here, we've got, we're on page 19, and I've noticed that sometimes it doesn't like it when you switch from sketch to layout. And so I have to go back and kind of go. See, what I did here is I opened up the thumbnail and I clicked on a page before it, and then I came back to it, and you can see that it syncs up the script with your page, which is pretty cool. So here we are on page 19, and these first four panels I've brought together where it says that King Herod, if I read the text itself, we're looking at chapter 12. I'm on page 19. Chapter 12, verse 1 says, about that time King Herod laid violent hands upon some who belonged to the church. He had James, the brother of John, killed with the sword. And after he saw that it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to arrest Peter also. And this was during the festival of unleavened bread. And when he had seized him, he put him in prison and handed him over to 4 squads of soldiers to guard him, intending to bring him out to the people at the Passover. And while Peter was kept in prison, the church prayed fervently to God for him. So I've got 5 verses that I want to depict here. And you can see in panel 1, what I have in what I'm envisioning is that panel 1 is going to be like, let's see, let's go down to the sketch layer, and I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm over here, I've got my Tortillian pen, and I have to make sure that I'm in freeform style here. And I have this picture of having Herod. By the way, this is Agrippa the First. Let's see. I'm going to have Herod like bigger than life, looking over Jerusalem. And he's going to be like, almost like a puppet master. And his hands are going to be like he's just playing God with Jerusalem. And let's see, I want his maniacal eyes looking down on Jerusalem. How's that? Yeah. Now this is super rough. Like, I'm not looking for any kind of detail. And I think I want to make sure that we put Agrippa the first here. And so I'm going to have like a crown on his head. He's going to be coming up out of the frame. With wild, power-lusting eyes like that. Yeah. And just somehow put his see, I want to, it needs to be like elaborate, like this will be a gold chain, elaborate wealth, and like have rings on his fingers. He's just got to be over the top, because these Herods, man, they were treacherous bunch that just loved money and power. Like his ears back here. And then, okay, so something like that. And then maybe I'll have, no, I don't want to do that, because, so if I hit double tap, I can undo what I just did. You know, I'm wondering about this. I'm gonna try something, because I want to hide that layer. See, what I just did was I added a layer, and I'm wondering if this might look better if there's like a foreshortening where Herod is like standing up, looming down from a place of power. Like that. With like his evil laugh. Wondering if I want that. So you would be looking up his nose if I did that. So, do I want that? Or do I want this? I think I want this. This reads more clearly my intent. Let's just get rid of that. Okay. I'll just leave that there for now. I don't know, maybe what do you think? Okay, so coming back to my script. Once again, I have to trick it. Come back to page 19. So James lays dead. Originally, I wrote this script. James lays dead in a shadow of a soldier with a sword who looms over his body. But I want to make it want to make it a little bit more graphic. So I was thinking, what if let's see. What if I want to do like a shadow, because sometimes if you don't want to draw it like explicitly, you can use a shadow on a wall or something to, like, if this, let's say this is a shadow, let's say this is a wall, okay? We're looking at a wall. And if I have like a soldier running James through the gut. So if I have if I had a sword like this, so when you do shadows, you have to do everything in silhouette, right? So again, this is super rough. I'm just going for, so if I thrust, let's see, bring that down. Let's rotate that like that. So this is going to be like all silhouette. I don't know. Is that too? That's pretty. I mean, this is incredibly violent because the story is incredibly violent. Like, Herod is a horrible human being who is just murdering the disciples of Jesus because it pleases the people. This is the grandson of the guy who had all the babies slaughtered in Bethlehem. James is murdered. And now this is James, the brother. This is James, the brother of John. One of the guys that was called by the seas, one of the sons of Zebedee, sons of thunder. It's been extinguished early in the story. Right? So that's horrible. James is murdered. And then the second thing that Herod Agrippa does is he arrests Peter. So we've got And it says, let's see see what I'm doing here. Let me switch over to my Logos. This is the text that we're looking at here. So it's all right here in this section of the text. It says, when he saw that it pleased, it being the brother of John killed with the sword, after he saw that it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to arrest Peter. When he had seized him, he put him in prison and handed it over to 4 squads of soldiers to guard him. I don't know how many 4 squads of soldiers is, but that's a lot of soldiers. So in this panel, what I'm going to do is I have to figure out how to show, I think I'm just going to have, so I have my Peter character here, who I always draw him as kind of a burly guy. I've got to show him shackled. Right, so his wrists are together, thumbs right here. Big shackles right here. So I got to draw the chains, make sure you can really tell that those are chains. So Peter's going to be right here. To draw his ears up here to show that his head is down. Again, this is super fast. I'm just doing layout here. So he is chained, and I've got to have a whole bunch of soldiers. We're gonna have the soldiers got their arms. They're holding him. This is the foreshortening of their arms right here. So I've got to have 2 soldiers right next to him. Now these are they're not necessarily Roman soldiers, because they are Herod's soldiers. So they're like temple soldiers. So I draw them a little differently. I usually give them like pointed helmets, maybe a little nose thing, and then these things that come down their head, just to show them as different than Roman soldiers. So we've got 2 soldiers that have him immediately, and I'm going to have a spear right here where this one's holding a spear. And then, but it says there's like 4 squadrons of soldiers, and so I'm just going to create like a mass of like a whole battalion of soldiers behind him, like this. And so I'll have fun drawing like all these soldiers' heads back here. And they're all going to have spears, right? Because I think that looks more menacing to have them all have spears. So you got these. Let's see. You know, I just realized when I make them with these pointy helmets, they kind of look like KKK, which I think it's appropriate. Definitely witch hunters. So when I come back and do the tight pencils on these, all right, so here's my layout so far. So I've got Herod looming over the city of Jerusalem. We've got James killed by the sword. We've got Peter arrested. And then we have, then we're going to have like a huddle of the disciples praying. So we've got hands folded in prayer, looking up to God, praying. So we've got all the disciples, they're all huddled around in prayer, various levels of prayer. Kneeling down like that. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Oh God. You know what? So I'm going to, even though the text doesn't say this, I'm actually going to come back up here to my layout panel, and I'm going to put into the script, because the narrator tells us that they're praying for Peter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have them praying. So I'm going to write in the script. So this is panel 4. The church is praying for him. So I'm going to write in the script, let's see, right here. So if I type in church, if I type in church, colon, then it's going to automatically recognize that there's a word balloon there. Lord, please rescue Peter from prison. We'll just make it really obvious that that's what they want. And so then what's really cool is I can just drag this word balloon right over here. Lord, please rescue Peter from prison. And that way, it's very obvious what's happening. All right, so there is the initial verses 1 through 5. And then the next scene is so cool. It's another jailbreak. So this is going to be the second time that Peter has a miraculous, angelic jailbreak moment. So let's go. What I'm doing right now is the reason I did that is because I discovered so cool that my iPad automatically connects to my iMac, and I'm actually using my mouse on both my iPad and my iMac right now, and that is just so cool. Let me switch back over to the text. Excuse me now. And we see, so that the very night before Herod was going to bring him out, Peter, bound with 2 chains, was sleeping between 2 soldiers, while guards in front of the door were keeping watch over the prison. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell, and he tapped Peter on the side and woke him, saying, "Get up quickly," and the chains fell off his wrists. The angel said to him, "Fasten your belt, put up your sandals," and he did so. Then he said to him, "Wrap your cloak around you and follow me." Peter went out and followed him, and he did not realize what was happening with the angel's help was real. He thought he was seeing a vision. And after they had passed the first and the second guard, they came before the iron gate leading into the city. It opened for them of its own accord, and they went outside and walked along a lane, when suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, "Now I'm sure that the Lord has sent his angel." And he says, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose other name was Mark. where many had gathered and were praying. When he knocked at the outer gate, a maid named Rhoda came to answer. On recognizing Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed that instead of opening the gate, she ran in and announced that Peter was standing at the gate. They said to her, "You are out of your mind." But she insisted that it was so. They said, "It is his angel." Meanwhile, Peter continued knocking, and when they opened the gate, they saw him and were amazed. He motioned to them with his hands to be silent and described for them how the Lord had brought him out of the prison. And he added, "Tell this to James and to the believers." Then he left and went to another place. And then when Herod discovers it, he's really upset, and he orders that his guards be put to death because, that's how Herod rolls. So, all right. That's quite a story. Let's see if we can draw it. Again, I'm just doing super rough layout. So what I've got here is, so far I've got this panel right here, which is, in one panel, I want to show the jailbreak. Okay, so I've got Peter. It says he's sleeping between two guards, but then the angel wakes him up and the chains fall off and he says, "Get up and quickly and follow me." So I gotta show all of that in one panel. So here's what I want to do. Okay, you can see that I just throw the word balloons in there. So sometimes, let me get rid of, I like to work with just the comic page when I'm drawing. And when you come to this, click on sketch layers, you can make the letter opacity go away. And so I want to mostly forget that it's there for right now because I want to lay out this panel. And I think, so what I want to do is I'm envisioning, like, here's the gate. And there's like a couple steps down into the prison cell, like that. I'm not sure. Here. All right, let's erase that. Make my eraser super big. So let's start with Peter. Okay, so if Peter, I'm going to make it so like he's just getting up from being asleep. So he's going to be looking up at the angel. So this is his torso right here. And this leg his knee, his ankle, his foot, like that. And this knee is like tucked under like that. And I want him like he's leaning on his arm. Right. So this shackle has come off, and I want this arm to be up here like this. Like he's gone like that. And the shackles are flying off of his hands like that. Okay, so we have to show that. And I'm gonna make like the chain all broken open like that. And maybe this chain is gonna be whoosh. So it's obvious that, and I think I'm going to actually have shackles come off of his wrists, his ankles too. Right, and so there's Peter, and he's shocked, right? But he's sleeping between two guards. So maybe I'm gonna have one guard, so I gotta erase that. I'll have one guard right here, maybe with a ZZZ, like, so he's sleeping. And then the other guard is going to be like he's sitting against the wall, but he's so if that guard is over there, so he's sleeping like that, maybe. So we have these Z's fill up this space like that. And so then we can have, I guess we don't have to have it be down in steps, because I want it to look like that's the corner of the room. So the gate is right here. And then if the messenger is right here, he's like, dude, get up, we're going. So that's the messenger saying, ta-da. So let's erase, let's make that a little smaller. And the important thing to remember is when you're sketching, it doesn't have to look good yet, right? Just getting the layout. So there's a huge, fills it with light. So there's going to be lots of darkness coming over here. This is going to be, he's going to be all silhouetted. Boom, boom, boom. Light, shadow, hard shadows cast across here. Peter. And let's see where our word balloons are now. Get up quick and follow me. So if I come back, now if I come back to the layout, you can see I'm going to grab, obviously my word balloon needs to change because I've changed the layout. Get up quick and follow me. Yeah, see, now that works. Get up quick and follow me. There you go. I think that worked. So then it says that Peter gets up and he is walking out of there, and he's walking along a lane. So I'm going to show Peter So let's see. I'm going to show you how you can add a perspective guide, which is really cool. So I'm going to be looking down. So what I did was I chose an aerial perspective, and it just drops in this box, and you can change the box to fit your panel. And then because it's designed, so there's my horizon line, right? So I want to be looking like I'm looking down, like at about that angle. And then you hit done. And then it's really cool because it lays in these perspective lines for you. And so I want to make it so that right here, it's really obvious that this is the prison that Peter's just been released from. And that the gates have been opened to the prison. And that Peter's walking, and so like we're looking down over, this is a rooftop. And this would be the, we'll make it like a garrison kind of a thing. I don't know, I'm just arbitrarily drawing buildings just to show that we are in the city. And Peter, and now, so Peter's going to be small, and he's free, right? And he's going to be looking up like, is this, and the angel, we're going to have the angel walking, looking back at him like, come on. Angel's looking back at him. And so with that kind of layout, then I can bring this and have Peter be like, is this a vision? And so if I go back to the sketch, I'll just put prison here just to make it clear. So there you go. Let's see. So that's what we've got so far. So we've got Peter, the angelic vision of the angel saying, let's get out. So I'm going to just put a little bit more detail. Make this my angel have like flowy robes. Okay. So now that we come to the house of Mary, mother of John Mark. And so what we see here is I'm going to add just a regular perspective piece to this one. Maybe, let's see, do I like that perspective? So if I hit done, then that puts me at just a regular, yeah, because, okay, so what it's saying is that we've got Peter comes to this house, and he's standing at the gate, and then he looks out, and there is a young girl who opens the door. So what we've got is we've got Peter here. So we've got I want to have a gate right here. Like let's put this like it's a gate, right? Which would have something that he'd be looking through. And then back inside the courtyard, there's going to be a doorway. And let's see, what I want to have the door open like this, so that I can have this young girl looking out the door. And then this is the wall that has the gate in it. It'll have stones. And then I'm going to have Peter standing right here with his hands like up on the bars of the gate, right? You got the gate coming down like that. You've got the cross piece of the gate. We'll make this like the center of the gate. So there's Peter. So let's erase all of that. Again, this is super, super rough. This is just blocking out, and I'll come back later and tighten that up, make it look good. And so I'll have this young woman with like, what? On her face. Because it says there was let's see, how did I write this out? I said, get up quickly. Peter stands outside the gate of the house of Mary, mother of John and Mark. A maid named Rhoda answers the door and sees Peter at the gate. Okay, that's what I got here. Then panel 8, Rhoda runs away from the gate with a big smile. So what I'm going to do in this panel is I'm going to reverse the perspective. And so now we're going to have Peter back here at the gate. And, well, wait, let's work this out, shall we? So this is the perspective. So I want to have a close-up where we have Rhoda running this way, right? So there's Rhoda. She's a young girl, and she's running. So she's going to be running to tell the others that he's here. And so she's in the doorway. If I put the doorway here, then it makes it look like she's going back into the house. Okay, so we've established that she's in the doorway. So this would be like looking up. And so what we need to do is put Peter. Yeah, this'll work. We'll put Peter right here, standing in the gate, and he's going to be like, what are you doing? So he's going to be like, question mark. Yeah, so there's Peter back there going. Yeah, that'll work. See, perspective. You got Rhoda. So what I've done is I've flipped the camera. So I went from the camera behind Peter, looking at Rhoda. Now the camera is behind Rhoda, looking at Peter. And so she's running away from him, and he's like, "What's going on?" And then in this one, we want to go back to, I kind of want to make it just for now, I'm going to actually come up here and I'm going to copy this group of praying disciples. I'm going to hit paste and drag them down here. And what that'll do is create a little bit of continuity between these two panels. Then I'll come up here to this layer and hit merge down just to keep them all in that layer. And let me lose my script there. Okay, my eraser, get rid of this. And so now we've got like essentially the same pose as up there. But this guy, now he's going to turn his head. And he's going to talk to Rhoda. Like, no, that can't be right. You know, you're a nice girl, but you're seeing things, that kind of a thing. Because Rhoda's going to be over here. And she's going to be like, "Guys, check it out. I just saw Peter at the door. He's like really here for real." So, "Peter's at the gate. You're out of your mind. It must be his angel." So let's drag this over here. "You're out of your mind. It must be his angel." And then where do we end up? Come back here. They all see Peter at the gate and are amazed. Okay, so we go back to our sketch layer. Take a quick drink. We're almost done, guys. So for our final super rough sketch for this session, what we'll do is we'll go back to the gate. And it's like they're all now outside the house. We're at the gate, and Peter's standing right here, still outside the gate. But now all of the disciples are standing here with, exclamation points, and they see him. And I think just for fun, I'm going to have Rhoda standing here doing the ta-da. Like I told you. That'd be fun. So then tell James and the rest of the believers. All right. So it has been almost an hour, and here's what we've got done. I showed you this layout, so you can see this. I did that earlier this morning, and now I have this roughed in of Herod. James is murdered, Peter's arrested, they're praying for him. The visitor comes, breaks him out of jail. Peter's wondering, like, is this a vision? Then the house of Mary, mother of John Mark. Rhoda runs. Rhoda tells them he's there. He's actually there. Tell the rest of James. So what I've committed to each week is just spending 1 hour with you doing what I'm actually doing in that moment. So that is the process. You can see that took about an hour. And when I'm not talking about doing it, while I'm doing it, sometimes it probably goes faster. I don't know. I don't keep total track. But I hope you found this interesting. And if you're watching this later on, I'd love to hear comments. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions about using ComicDraw or about this section of the Book of Acts, just let me know. Hey, thanks for spending time with me. This is super fun. I'm going to do this every Thursday at 2 p.m. just because we can, right? And we'll see you next time.